The move towards vote centers in Dubois County is continuing. I'm Bradford Raths, and we once again welcome back to the WJTS studios Dubois County Clerk Bridgette Jarboe to talk about just that. So, Bridgette, kind of update us on the process that led up to what now we've had one of the public meetings. How did you guys come to the decision to have 4 of them?
Well, we, by law, have to hold 2. So the 2 public meetings was not going to encompass all of Dubois County. The study committee and the election board felt we would be better served with the public by finding out from all 4 locations. The high schools or middle schools seem to be the location that people find easy and accessible, and it does hit all 4 corners.
So since we last talked, we're also moving towards, you were talking about poll books at a recent meeting that we were at. Kind of expound on what's going on with the poll books and what you guys will need there.
We are waiting for certification. Anyone that is a vote center county in Indiana must use certified equipment. Our voting machines are staying the same. Those have been certified. Nothing will change there. The electronic poll books, however, the state requires certification. So we are waiting to hear from the Secretary of State on who has made it through certification and which companies are still waiting or need to make changes and adjustments to satisfy the state's requirements.
And as this is Thursday night, first meeting happened earlier this week on Tuesday. Talk about a little bit, just generally, how'd it go?
I'm going to say I felt it went really well. I would have loved to have seen quite a few more people there. We did have some of the public in. They were very quiet. They did not ask many questions, which we were hoping for. We had a few kicked in, wanting to know some things that we kind of answered. We give a quick PowerPoint presentation, and we do want some questions, and we want their opinions. We'd like to know how they feel. Okay.
So, for your expectations, where would you say last night's meeting felt? You know, was it along better, maybe a little lesser?
Well, Bradford, I've always been a straight shooter, so we'll just keep it going that way. Anytime there are public meetings held, unless it is a very, very hot topic, which we were kind of hoping maybe this would be, you don't get a lot of turnout typically. Ideally, we would love to see 50, 100, 200 people come in for one of our vote center meetings. It was about what I expected. Generally, public meetings, we just don't get the people to come out. If they're unable to attend the meetings, since we are holding them at the high schools, if they are unable to attend a meeting but they have an opinion or feel strongly one way or the other about the vote centers, I am asking them to call the clerk's office, ask for myself, get a hold of one of the study committee members. We have a list for them. If they just want to know who's on the study committee, I can get them that list as well.
So from your point of view, this is kind of an interesting one. From your point of view, what do you think the consensus has been from what you've heard from people about the idea of vote centers?
I've only had one negative comment up to this point. Generally, when I'm out in public, it's not always the biggest topic of conversation, but when I am able to get someone to talk or discuss it with me, most people that I have talked to, and I'll just give you, we'll say maybe 30 people in general, and I've tried to ask different areas of the county, they're for it. They like the idea. We do get some questions, you know, what about, you know, the area up here? What about these people in this certain location? And we feel that with the satellite voting and the early voting, as it's called with vote center counties, we can accommodate anybody that has a special need or feels that taking it to the vote center is taking the polling place directly across the street from them away.
All right, so now as we look ahead, we still have 3 of these meetings to go, including 2 next week. Talk a little bit more about how important it's going to be to have some more people come out. I know you didn't have a lot necessarily at the first one, but going forward.
We didn't, but we do appreciate anyone that can come and join us. And again, ideally we would love to have 100 people come out to one of these meetings. But it is their voice. If we would get 100 people walk in and say, you guys are crazy, that you shouldn't do this, then we would have to go back and say, okay, look, we had these many people say no. So everybody else is pretty indifferent. We have to go with the no vote. Same occurrence. We have 100 people that come in and say, this is wonderful. Then we say, okay, we've had 100 people saying yes. it makes it easier for us to make that transition to vote centers. And we did get a few compliments last night at the meeting. We had a few people that did speak up, think it's a good idea. They're okay with the move.
Right. So you told me before we started here there won't be any change in the format of the meetings, but is there anything else you guys may have gleaned from last night's meeting you might use applying to future meetings?
A few of the questions that were asked were answered in the PowerPoint. We have a quick PowerPoint presentation we kind of walk through with everyone. And the question that arose was answered in the PowerPoint, so we will point some other, we'll try to point out any concerns that we think we may have missed. As of last night, we haven't found any, so we're just hoping that we may get more feedback, that people will say, you know what, hey, I didn't want to ask in front of everybody, but here's my concern. So and they can call ahead. If they have questions before the meeting, call my office, say I have a question for you, but I'm not comfortable talking in front of everyone. Would you please ask this question? And we will address it at the public meeting, and I will have an answer for them.
Right. So let's move ahead in time a little bit per se. Let's say we just finished the final public meeting for this. Talk about the process going forward after that.
If the process, we'll say the county says yes, we're in favor of, the voters have said, the turnout says yes, we're in favor of you moving to vote centers. We then supply our plan to the state. They review it. They make any suggestions they have for us to make any modifications or do what we might need to do. And at that point, then we just are doing media blitzes like crazy to let everybody know where we will be voting come the May primary.
All right. So is there anything else as we wrap up here that you'd like to discuss in regards to the future?
We're just wanting, again, we need the public's feedback. We need to know how they feel, if they like it, if they don't like it, if they understand it, are they comfortable with another change? The big one is most people don't like change, but we want to hear from them. To make our decision, we want to hear from them. The economic standpoint, we can save the county a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, Bridgette, we certainly appreciate you stopping by the studio this evening.
Thank you.
This has been our update on voting centers with Bridgette Jarboe. We will have more 18 News after the break.